Hey friends, Mike and Jess here.
And welcome to Regeneration Nation TV. Today we are going to be watching a video, 8 ways British and American education systems are very different. I look forward to this because I love seeing different sides of the coin.
Yeah. We reacted to one other video from Lost in the Pond. It was a very good video, and you should go check that one out as well. YouTube has added like a search feature. When you go to a channel now, I noticed, you can like literally just search on that channel. And so if you're ever wondering, you know, if we have a video that we've reacted to, maybe yes or no, you could just search in and it'll tell you. Boom.
Oh, nice.
It'll pull right up. I don't know. That might be a
convenient.
feature that only I have. I don't know. I noticed it like a week or two ago. So
Only I have it though, so
I don't know. Maybe they're sending it out in the test phase. But either way, this is going to be interesting because little context. We are American.
Yeah,
we
are.
homeschool our children. We have since they were in kindergarten. They did do 1 year in public school, but then we gave them the choice. They chose to go back to homeschool. So we enjoy it. It's been great for us. It's worked out great for them. But yeah, we both did the public school thing.
Yeah.
So this is going to be interesting either way. But yeah, we've got links for this channel, for this video down below. Go hit that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's get into this.
let's do it.
Wouldn't it be funny if I just used this as the thumbnail? It's a video about education and it's froze on his face. Okay. Anyways.
In America, they're all about their Latin, so honours are signified by phrases like cum laude, magna cum laude, cumulonimbus, or cactus priculus. Hello, I'm Lawrence and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to education. Before we get underway, some disclaimers. Britain is made up of 3 countries, England, Scotland and Wales, while the UK also includes Northern Ireland. Because each country has a separate education system operating under a different government, comparing British and American approaches could take as long as a doctoral programme. Therefore, when it comes to Britain, I'm going to focus on the country of my own schooling, England. For more details on the other countries, see my links in the description. Furthermore, some of the finer details of US education can vary by state, school district and school. So for some things in today's video, there will be exceptions that prove the rule. Basically, there's going to be a part 2. Ahead of his election victory in 1997, former British Prime Minister Tony Blair summed up his political priorities with 3 words: education, education, education. The problem was, he didn't specify in what order. Schools in England date back to about the year 598. They were introduced by Augustine of Canterbury, who, like many in the 6th century, resembled a sketch of somebody from the 6th century. On the other hand, the first public school in America was the Boston Latin School. It was modelled after a grammar school in Boston, England, and among its notable alumni was Benjamin Franklin. History notes that he didn't actually graduate and quit the school at the age of 10, and he didn't even have a Nintendo Switch. Fast forward to 2020, and today's kids haven't got a clue where the word fast forward comes from. But also, those kids, like us before them, are cogs in an educational machine that has been worked and refined for hundreds of years. Except on either side of the pond, that machine is a different make and model. In fact, English and American education is very different. As somebody who was schooled the English way but married an American teacher, I'm going to take a look at those differences.
Oh, that's an interesting thing that he has.
Dude.
Being married to an American teacher, but he was raised, taught in Britain. But that's crazy that he has both sides.
It's the same thing with the first video we reacted to. I love his delivery.
Yeah.
I love his delivery method on the information. Like, it's just...
And you saying that, I think he'll be okay with the thumbnail being like that. I think he'll appreciate it.
No offense. No offense. I got to get people to click the video somehow. They're going to see education and then his face like... Anyways, but yeah, I love it. It's like the best teacher you could ask for is somebody who makes the information easy to understand, fun,
yeah,
and just interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a look at those differences. Before we look at the education life cycle, let's talk about one of the most striking visual differences between English and American schools: uniforms. In the United States, most schools don't require one. Brits like me know this because we've seen Saved by the Bell, but that doesn't give us the whole picture. American schools do enforce a dress code. This varies by school, but in general, you might see kids wearing things like khakis and polo shirts, you know, basically anything worn by 55-year-old professionals called Scott. There's typically no requirement that these clothes have to match from student to student. And while some private schools do require uniforms, this is the exception that proves the rule. In England, everything's flipped, and I'm not just talking about the roads. 90% of English schools require pupils to wear identical uniforms. Think Hogwarts without all the fun stuff. And what's fascinating is there's no government mandate for schools to do this, they just do it. It really makes me wish I'd put forth a more vociferous protest against the autocratic infrastructure of my school when I was 5, but we all have regrets.
Okay, so I couldn't tell if he's pro-uniform or anti-uniform from that.
I know, right? But that gives me such a crazy thought in my brain. Like, does it make a difference? Like, I would like to see the schooling education stats from the UK as opposed to, or sorry, from England.
How many people did you know who got bullied for their wardrobe?
Like, yeah, that definitely puts it in a different, like a different.
Why not just take that variable out of the situation?
Yeah, I think
it's like there's enough to worry about. We're trying to educate you. We're trying to mold you into, you know, adults.
Yeah.
And
when you put a focus on
something, it's proving to be
so
difficult when you're
shallow.
Constantly having to worry about what you're wearing and, oh, this person has Shaqs, but they're not wearing the Jordans. It's like, they're both basketball players, man.
Yeah. Does that
I
matter?
got bullied about my Shaqs, okay?
Yeah.
So I told my mom, I was like, can you please stop buying me Shaqs? She's like, well, you're not getting any other type of shoe. You could get whatever. We're shopping at Kmart and Walmart. You choose. One or the other. That's it.
But yeah, I think that, in my opinion, I think that it would have been better if we had mandated uniforms. But the fact that they don't even have it mandated by their government and they still just do it, I think, I don't know, they probably see a good in it, though, to keep it going.
Yeah, I mean, the education system here, like you have an education system, like a board of, well, I can't remember the terminology, but it kind of looks over all the schools in that district. Mm-hmm. So they do have somebody to answer to. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's like a giant one in, you know, Britain or, yeah, I keep messing up, you know. I'll say the UK at the wrong time and then I'll say Britain at the wrong time. So I'm still learning and being educated about that. You know what I mean? So I apologize. Kind of brain farted for a second. But I don't know if there's like a big one that oversees everything and they all have to answer to them, or it's like here it's county by county. You can set rules like a per county basis, but yeah, I buy into the uniform thing. I'm pro uniform because it just takes a variable out that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, from experience, you know, too.
It's true that both countries employ a numbering system to denote a child's educational development. In England, this is measured by year, and in America, by grade. And there's a slight difference in how this plays out. England's numbering system is always one higher than America's. So, for example, English kids in year 2 are the same age as American kids in the first grade. And this is the same all the way up to year 13/12th grade. This doesn't mean that English schools randomly hold children back a year. It just means that the English year 1 serves the same purpose as America's kindergarten. On the whole, English and American kids attend school between about 5 and 18, but that's not the entire story. Even before all of this, there's a 2-year warm-up session.
So, yeah, okay, I was going to say, do they have preschool? They just answered my question, but like, all I really want to know is, do they teach the same thing in kindergarten as they do year 1? Basically, like learning how to draw in between the lines and things like that, arts and crafts. Like, I don't really remember what I learned in kindergarten. It was like singing, coloring,
ABCs, 1, 2, 3s.
1, 2, 3s,
yeah,
like things like that. You're basically just making sure this kid is competent at that point.
Between 3 and 5, when children still can't do easy stuff like order pizza or filter spreadsheets, parents in both countries have them sent off to something called preschool. And instead of getting punished for their abject lack of ability, they're rewarded with free playtime. Madness. Except in England, we don't normally call it preschool. This period is broken up into what is known as nursery and reception year. Confusingly, reception year is technically the first year of school and year 1 is the second year. Among other things, this explains why I'm so bad at maths.
I mean, preschool here is not required. You're only required to put your kid into school
at 5, kindergarten.
At kindergarten. Preschool is just like a
warm up, if you will.
Mix between daycare and kindergarten.
Yeah, because you're only there. You only drop them off from 9 to 12. That's how long ours was.
Yeah, it's shorter than elementary school, but it's shorter than kindergarten, like in the hours per day that you go. But it's basically the same thing. You're basically doing the same thing.
And
arts
honestly,
and crafts, and
it's helpful for a child to progress into getting used to the public school, because once you're home with your mom all the time or dad all the time, that's all you know. Getting them slowly used to leaving the house and being with somebody else under the care of somebody else, it's kind of like a good ease into it, I think.
Yeah. We're probably going to homeschool our daughter Allison as well. She's almost 2, but we're still going to do preschool.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I don't know. I enjoyed preschool.
Yeah.
It was nice I think it was great. Yeah, it was great to get to see them experience that.
America, the school where children advance to next is known as elementary, but to English people, that's just a word that Sherlock Holmes uses when he wants to be condescending. This period of education is where children from the ages of about 6 to 11 are first introduced to the broad range of knowledge they'll need to succeed in life. So, handling basic arithmetic, developing spelling ability, and explaining grass stains. In England, schools handling this period of primary education are known as primary schools, but in America, primaries are a series of state elections for nominating a party candidate which occur roughly every week forever. And then there's the average class size. In the US, the average class size for self-contained elementary classes is about 22. Just saying that out loud, I can already hear the laughter from teachers in states where the average is much higher. For instance, Utah, where it's 27. As it happens though, 27 is the national average for English primary schools. This was even the case when I was at school back in 1782.
They have taken away so many of the teachers' rights to discipline, like at all, really. And man, that's one thing that when we did send our kids to public school for that first year, I was going to a lot of the school get-togethers with my son Jackson, and I went to a field trip, and the way that I saw this classroom run all over that teacher, and the teacher was actually somebody that I went to school with, so she was around my age, and this is 10 years ago, so she was, in her mid-20s, late 20s. She couldn't handle that classroom at all. They were just running all over her. There were kids who spoke a couple different languages as well, which probably made it a lot harder. And yeah, I just was like, wow, how do you do this?
Yeah.
With 25, let's just say 25, with like around 25 different kids, and you're supposed to get, and our son Jackson as well, as his homeschool teacher, he learns very differently than my older son.
Yeah.
He needs to be very hands-on. You need to be very hands-on with him. It's a very different approach that you need to take.
Yeah.
And when I just don't see how a teacher has time to do that with so many different kids.
When you're 25 kids, like you just said, not all of those children learn the same. It takes a different approach. And for you to be one person with 25 children, it's just, that's a huge job. That's crazy to me that 27 is an average.
It's a lot. It's a lot, but the way that they do things there, where they take it, I don't know, they take certain variables that don't need to be in there out of the equation. I think that helps a lot. That would help a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
The United States, middle school is an alternate dimension that exists between elementary school and high school education. This dark underworld of sorcery is where teachers become locked in a battle of wits against a hive mind of monsters known as 8th graders. The average class size for departmentalized instruction is about 25, which only adds an extra layer to this already cruel hellscape. In England, it goes like this. The upside down is known generally as secondary school. Mercifully, the average class size is about 22, but while this nightmarish period of education, as with the United States, roughly encompasses the age of 11 to 14, it doesn't end there. In England, it drags on for another 2 years, coinciding age-wise with America's freshman and sophomore years of high school, which, by the way, brings us on to this. Yes, high school. In the United States, this is a period of education from the ages of about 14 to 18. After freshman and sophomore year comes grade 11 or junior year and grade 12, senior year. This is typically when the students begin their development into humans, but it's also when most students take their SATs, a series of tests to determine readiness for college. These are not to be confused with the English SATs or SATs, which are assessments taken by 7 and 11-year-olds. In England, it is a similar process, but by a different name. And before keyboard warriors like Uncle Toby start writing in all caps that we have high schools in the UK, I know we do. But to keep things simple, that same period of schooling is typically structured like this. Age-wise, the last 2 years of secondary school are to England what freshman and sophomore years are to America. This is when pupils across the country take GCSE tests in all their subjects to determine suitability for further qualifications. Meanwhile, the English age equivalents of junior and senior year take place in what is known as sixth form or college. This is the point in education where we stop wearing uniforms and start dressing like John Travolta. It's also where we study 2 or 3 chosen specialised subjects as part of our A-levels. For me, this was English, history and theatre studies because that's how you become a YouTube sensation. The results of these tests determine your suitability for university. They're often compared to America's advanced placement exams. But while both help to determine a student's path in higher education, they're not entirely the same thing. That being said, higher education does come with its own differences.
Oh my gosh, there's a lot that he went over right there.
This is, yeah,
First of all,
of
junior
details.
high was a nightmare. Okay, for me in the county that I lived in, it was 7th and 8th grade, kindergarten through 6th, elementary, 7th and 8th, junior high. And then you have high school, 9th through 12th grade. 7th and 8th grade was just, I don't know what is going on with that time period.
Yeah.
But there's so many fist fights. There's so much bullying. There's so much drama. We had a policeman at our school. It just felt so different from elementary school the year before. I got there and I was just like, so stressed out for those 2 years.
Yep.
It was like a nightmare.
You're literally going from being an innocent child, like 6th grade was the last pleasant year of school that I had, I feel like, because you're going from kindergarten to 6th grade, you're in elementary school. It's just a pleasant, innocent experience. Like,
Yeah.
I had such a good experience. And then you get to middle school and you have kids that are going through puberty. They're developing hormones that they never knew that they had. They're going through all these changes and they're going through it in public school with other kids that are around them that have no idea.
That's a big factor
And
too.
it's just chaos all the time. And you have kids with attitude and you have kids that are trying to be controlled by teachers, and like you have all these new things that they're learning, and
You
it's
have all
only
these
2
kids
years, but it
filled
is
with
chaos.
anxiety.
It is, yes.
Some kids are going through depression.
Yeah.
Some kids are just angry all the time.
They have no idea why.
Most of the time it's your first time dating.
Yeah.
It's just, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And you're going from 6th grade to, I remember the end of the school year in 6th grade where we're all going around signing each other's yearbooks,
Yeah.
hugging each other. Just, it's almost like you're saying goodbye to your childhood.
Yeah, exactly. Oh
And-
man, that's gonna make me cry.
Dude, I still remember the last day of 6th grade.
6th grade was my favorite year of school, I think.
Yeah, it was great, and you look back so fondly on that, and you have the summer break, and then you come back, you don't know what to expect, and it's a whirlwind for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And
To be fair, 12, like, depending on if you have a serious dental emergency, but like at least from 11 to 13, 14, maybe like into your sophomore year of high school, when you get braces, that's when you get braces. That's when you get your acne. The hormones are coming in. So it's like, those are your awkward stages. I feel like when middle school hits, those were my awkward stages anyway. I look back at pictures and it's like, you go from 7th grade to 9th grade and you're like, whoa, what a difference. Like, I was so awkward. As so many awkward pictures. So yeah, your anxiety, like you said,
it's rough.
Yeah, it's super rough.
And in 6th grade, it's not very, like, we had 3 different classes in 6th grade. And we had 3 teachers for 6th grade, where when you get to 7th and 8th, it's just a giant, the school is like quadruple the size.
Yeah.
You have 2 different grades, 7th and 8th, and there's so many different classes, so many teachers. You could walk by, like, you'll be at the end of the school year and you will walk by somebody in the hallway and you're like, I've never seen them before.
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen you.
True.
We went to the same school all
True.
year long,
True.
and I've never seen you
Yeah.
before. I have no clue who you are. We're in 6th grade, you know every single person. Every single
True.
person, you know their first and last name.
True.
And it's like, these people, it's just, the school is gigantic.
Yeah.
And then it just intensifies in high school, but you've already become like numb to it, I guess.
Used to it, yeah. I agree.
College means something entirely different.
And the teachers in high school, the teachers in high school teach you with more respect.
Yeah.
It's like they're teaching you, they're treating you like adults. Whereas in junior high, it's like this mix between, like, the teachers don't like you at all.
Yeah.
Because they've been teaching junior high for 20 years and they just hate it at this point. I don't know what it is. Junior high teachers were the worst teachers I ever had. But
They were
anyways.
prepared for it.
In the US, college means something entirely different. It's the general catch-all term for an institution of higher education. In England, this is referred to as university or uni because everything devolves into slang at some point. Of course, specific institutions in both countries play hard and fast with this rule. See, for example, Harvard University and Imperial College, London. For American students, a bog-standard bachelor's degree takes 4 years to complete, while in England, unless I, somehow skipped a year, which is entirely plausible in hindsight, a bachelor's degree typically lasts 3 years. Upon completion, students in both countries can graduate with honours. The difference, though, is how this is printed on a degree transcript. In England, Bachelor of Arts, or BA, might be followed by the word honours or ons, because see previous comment about slang. In America, they're all about their Latin, so honours are signified by phrases like cum laude, magna cum laude, cumulonimbus, or cactus priculus.
There it is.
Like any good teacher, I've left the best bit until the end of class. It wouldn't be America and England if they weren't separated by a common language. So let's take a rapid-fire look at the differences in educational terminology. As we've already seen, you've got grade versus year, but you've also got semester versus term. While America has its students, England has its pupils. Whether or not they attend elementary school or primary school, high school or college or uni, there's a good chance they'll have to study math or maths. And in England, we don't take tests, we take exams. In England, a rubber erases a mistake. In America, it prevents one. And speaking of words that have different meanings, let's finish today's class and/or module by talking about 2 words that perennially cause confusion. Public school. In the United States, a public school is one that is publicly funded and free for students to attend. In 2016, more than 70% of students were publicly educated in the US, as opposed to privately educated. In England, a public school is something different. In the late 1800s, the term public was used in the sense of these schools being open to pupils of any locality, denomination, or paternal trade. Basically, anyone whose parents could afford it. So, an English public school is a private school. A publicly funded school, on the other hand, is called a state school, which has nothing to do with state universities in America. It's all confusing, and I've lost my train of thought. Saved by the bell. That's it for this episode. Thank you for joining me. Let me know in the comments below if you've attended a school in either America or the United Kingdom and you have some other suggestions for entries for part 2. If you like the sound of my voice as I do, why not follow me on Twitter and read my tweets and imagine my voice saying them. You can do that at Lost in the Pond US, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that my videos don't get lost in the pond. It's also imperative that you click my bell. A big shout out to all of my patrons with whom I discussed the topic of education on today's secret live stream. If you would like to become a patron of this channel and support everything we do, you can do so at patreon.com/lostinthepond. Until next time, goodbye.
I adore him. The first video that we watched from Lost in the Pond, you got to see how he presents videos, and he's very, very quirky. He's very, very funny. He's very entertaining, but he's also delivering you facts, and I just think that's so awesome.
Yeah, that was great. I enjoyed that very much, and hopefully you enjoyed our input throughout the video.
Yeah. I didn't know that. But I kind of saw that that's where it was going when he kept saying it was the opposite. But I didn't know that public schools in the UK or in England, I don't know if it's very specific to just England or if it's in Wales and Scotland as well, but they're called public schools are private schools. Like, that's very confusing to me.
If we would have decided to homeschool, if we could have afforded private school for our kids.
I think that it probably would have gone a different way, to be honest with you. Because a public school here, and I'm not going to get too bad into it because it's just my opinion when I talk, but there's so much more of a narrative that they're pushing in our public schools nowadays. It's not like it used to be. There's so many people that are teachers that you hold responsible for your child for 6 hours a day, and you're trusting them to put in a valuable information of things that
curriculum.
To teach the curriculum that was given to them, not to add stuff that they feel that they need to deliver to my children. I don't think that you should have the right to push on children what somebody else, their parents, their legal guardians should be able to decide that. I feel like you should go with your curriculum that's given to you by the state and the school, because it is a public school. It is a free system that's funded by us. So I don't feel like you should have that right to decide what my child should learn besides what the curriculum that you have been given. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But
there are plenty of really good teachers out there. But
definitely,
the system as a whole is flawed in a lot of ways. And yeah, I think a private school, it's a sort of vetting process to where, I don't know, like it's a vetting process in a way to where it's like you just have to be a little bit wealthier than the next person, which doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good parent or anything like that. But it kind of means to me in a way that you care about your kid's education a little bit more, and you're willing to invest monetarily in that a little bit more. So yeah, I don't know if we could have afforded, we were 21 and 23 when we had our sons. So we were not financially stable
prepared at all.
Nope. So even now it'd be tough to afford private school for 3 children. So yeah, I don't know if we could afford it, I don't know if we would have went that route. But it is interesting to know,
It is.
To think about.
If I ever have to explain school in the British education system as opposed to American education system, I would lose my mind. Like, I really will. I don't know how he got through this whole video. This was so well done.
All the script.
But yeah, I'm just saying, like, to know this information and how vastly different it is from America, it's like, because I grew up like that. Like, that's what I'm used to. So, like, for me to learn something else, it's just like, whew, it's mind-blowing. It really is. Like, you don't understand why it is the way that it is, but then you're, like, thinking about it. What if it was that way? He's got a lot of
experience as well, because he's got lived experience.
Yep.
And his wife also has lived experience. He has a lot to draw from to make a good video like this.
And it was pretty dang good.
Yeah. I had a lot of teachers that actually called us pupils, and I actually had teachers that called them exams as well. So I wonder if they were kind of just borrowing. They liked that terminology better.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about all I have to add to this video. We added a lot throughout, so
that's about it.
That's about it, y'all. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye, friends.
Peace.
I'm not scared of your love, so show me